Well, good afternoon, good morning, good day, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I say this every week. Well, I didn't say it last week because I was on vacation. But hello, everyone, and come in. Tell us where you're tuning in from. You know the drill. You know the drill. So let us know where you're tuning in from. And I was just on this morning. I know you guys know I was on with Claire, Bobino Fontenot. I always mess up her name, but so I'm back and back with Chanel. We missed a week, but we're back. And Chanel, you look so pretty in your pink. How you doing, daughter?
I'm doing well. Hello, good morning, everybody. I'm seeing everybody pop in. Excited to be back. It's been 2 weeks. Look, see, when you're on vacation, it's just one long day, right? But those of us who have been pounding the pavement the last 2 weeks,
I think that was a dig. Wasn't that a dig?
no, it wasn't. I don't sneak this. I'm for real. When you're on vacation, it literally feels like one day. You can be on vacation for a month. You be like, man, that just flew by. But a one work day feels like 10 years. So no, it wasn't a diss. I was just
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I was oceanfront. I didn't post a whole lot of pictures, but it was beautiful. And this is the first time that I actually relaxed. I never relax on vacation. I'm always trying to squeeze everything in there, but I sat on the balcony and read and relaxed. I promise you, this was the most relaxing vacation I've ever had. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Yeah, Wanda, Cheryl, Camille,
yeah.
Raquel, Deborah,
Let
welcome,
us
welcome. Share the broadcast. You already know the routine.
let us know
We
where y'all at. Where y'all at?
Yes, let us know where you tuning in from.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about mastering the art of negotiation. You know, I think that this is something that women really need to start perfecting because men got, for the most part, they have it down pat. They go in and they ask what they want, what they want, and make their demands and all. And we kind of like, well, I don't know. If I ask for a raise, they might fire me, or they might. Right? Am I right, Chanel? You know what I mean.
Yeah,
We
I think
got
that men don't negotiate, they declare. And
they
they
and
declare and they
demand and demand.
right. And we don't negotiate. I think the art of negotiation does fall on us because one thing I say and we'll talk about today is that every man feels like he deserves help. And women always feel like they're supposed to help. And we feel like, oh, that's like, hand in hand. No, that's not how it goes. That's
No,
a
so we will explore the art of negotiation, unraveling key strategies to help you navigate the delicate balance of interest and arrive at a mutually beneficial agreement. That's what negotiation is.
yeah.
So, first you have to understand your goals and priorities. We talk about this all of the time
Yeah.
before entering any negotiation. Clarify your goals and priorities. Be sure of what you want. Don't go in there, well, I think that, well, you start to study, you've already lost already. Uh, Make clear what you're seeking to achieve, what aspects are non negotiable. I'm not. This is non-negotiable. Let them know up front. That's this is not even on the table. This has to be, and where you can be flexible. Knowing your objectives provides a solid foundation for an effective negotiation. Go ahead, take it, Chanel.
So this is like a perfect, like God's timing is always perfect because I think that um as you're describing negotiation, there's no industry in the world that doesn't require negotiation. And I think you hit the nail on the head when you started talking specifically around in terms of gender, how one gender feels, negotiates and how the other gender tends to like lean back. And if you are a powerful negotiator, there are some assumptions that people make and some characterizations that people make about you. And most of the time they're not positive, right? um, and so when we think about negotiable instruments, right? Like let's get into like a little granular. Checks are negotiable instruments. That's technically what they're called, right? They're negotiable because there's agreement between two people, right? Um, So when we think about negotiating, all the time I talk to my clients, like, let's talk about, like, from the business perspective. I'll say to them, like, you need to negotiate your contract. And they're like, negotiate the contract? Yeah, negotiate the terms, negotiate everything. Everything is negotiable. Like, you have to come into it knowing exactly what you want. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that knowing what you want also means saying no, right? And sometimes, and I can admit this to myself, dating is a negotiation, right? You negotiate with all these different people till you get with the right person. And I think the hardest part about dating, especially as you age, is sometimes saying no to people, because we're so afraid that, like, behind that is rejection, it's neglect, it's a desert of opportunity, right? If you say no to this one person, then there's nobody else that's ever going to come your way, right? And so we, like, fear, like, and fear is one of those things. I was in church on Sunday, and it's funny that we're talking about negotiation, because we weren't talking about negotiation then, but this is so relevant. And I'm somebody who, like, studies emotions as I heal and grow through things. And fear it's in your chest, right? So you ever been afraid? You clench up, you can't breathe, your breath is constricted. So fear is always very real for us, even though it's made up, because it sits in our chest. Or you've probably said before, like, I felt like a weight on my shoulders, or like somebody was sitting on my chest and I just couldn't move, right? I think we're so afraid, and because it literally, like, paralyzes us, we don't negotiate, right? And I guess, like, today, as we talk through this, I can tell you, like, up front, I am somebody who, maybe I'm not the best negotiator, but I'm somebody who believes that I deserve what I want. And so I'm open to compromise. And I have found that when you talk to people, especially women, about compromising versus negotiation, it, like, it softens the blow to the to women, or to people in general, when you tell them, well, maybe don't negotiate, maybe figure out how you guys can compromise, come to an agreement, right, Dr. Jackie?
Yeah, I mean that is it. Yeah, I think it's good to do that, but there are certain things that are non-negotiable.
For sure.
So if you're, since you did bring up dating,
No, here we
if
go.
you're dating someone and him, I'm going to use a him since I'm a woman, might be the best thing since sliced bread. They have all of your checks that you have, because we do be having our little list. And then you say, he says, well, I smoke. Oh, heck no. I cannot be with a smoker. That is a deal breaker for me. I don't know what other people say, but that's for me. There are certain things that you just cannot negotiate. I mean, you should not. If you are worried about your health, worried about the secondhand smoke, they say kills more than smoking itself. If you are worried about that and you got this wonderful person, but they refuse to care about your health as much as you do, and they don't obviously care about theirs, that's a deal breaker. It should be a deal breaker. Some things you just cannot compromise on, but other things you can.
Yeah. What are some of you all's deal breakers? Like, I know for me, um in business, for example, I don't like 9 a.m. meetings. I don't care who you are. I don't want to meet with you at 9 o'clock, and I definitely don't want to meet with you before 9 o'clock. Right. And so 99% of the time, I can't do it. Right. And so I go into it telling them, like, I don't have the capacity to meet with you at 9 a.m. Another non-negotiable for me is I don't like to go out in the snow. So if people want to meet with me, I'm fine with meeting in person, totally open to that, but I don't want to go outside in the snow or the rain. Like, those are, like, things to me that 99% of the time I will tell you, like, hey, we can meet up. But if it's raining or snowing, I'm probably not coming. And it could be anybody, right? But I think in relationships, and this is like putting my feet to the fire, I think one of my non-negotiables that I've had to learn is that, like, I don't like selfish people,
Mm.
right? And I think that I am such a giving person. If I have it, I'll give it to you. If I know it, I'll share it with you. And I think that because I'm such a cheerful giver, oh yes, bad hygiene, yes, Camille, bad hygiene. And maybe other people have experienced this. Like, I attract people who like sometimes want to just use me, right? They want me to give them everything, and all they want to do is enjoy it.
And take.
Yes, yes. They want to benefit from my embarrassment of riches, so to speak, and they don't want to add any value back. And I'm not. I don't even know how. I'm not an ATM, right? You don't just give a little to get a lot. You got to do the work to get the work. Um. Oh, y'all are funny. Somebody said smacking, eating with the mouth open, chewing like a cow. Okay. That's another. What are some of your
Yeah,
non?
yeah. But let's get back on track. So knowledge is a powerful negotiating tool. Do the research, and whether you're researching a job offer or a contract, as Chanel says, or you have to know what is being offered. You have to know in and out, through and through, what everything is included. Because a lot of times we don't read the fine print. And then after you have accepted the deal, you'd be like, I've done it myself. Oh, I didn't see that. It was in little teeny tiny letters at the bottom. And you probably need a magnifying glass to see. And that's purposeful. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Research the relevant details, right? Understand the other party's perspective and anticipate potential points of contention. The more informed you are, the better position you'll be to make compelling arguments during the negotiation process. I can't emphasize that enough,
Yes.
right, Janelle?
Yes, and I can, working with contracts, specifically with government contracts, one of the things I talk to people about all the time, and this is something that, like, let's take a step back. So when we talk about negotiating, we've talked a lot about how people handle business. And there's this thing where people say, like, oh, you can start government contracts without any money. You don't need anything. You can just show up and they just throwing contracts in your face, right? And so one of the things I say is, like, you can get a contract, but you need to have an attorney to review the contract before you sign it, right? And it's very interesting to me when you say, like, read the fine print. Like, investing in other people is a form of negotiating, right? Understanding that people can support you and help you and see things the way that you can't, like a parent, an attorney, an accountant, is super important, especially in business. And so even when I tell people, like, yeah, even with the government, you need to have somebody review that contract. Particularly because there are reasons the government cannot pay you for extended periods of time, reasons that they can cancel the contract without, like, a long period of notice. And so there's all this nuance that goes into signing the contract that you just won't know. You'll be so excited you sign it and you're like, wait, how did I end up here? What did I agree to? Right? We get so excited. And part of negotiating is advocating for yourself and making sure, again, that you're getting what you want out of it. And also sometimes knowing when to walk away, right? So sometimes, and I can admit this, myself in the beginning, I had no way to understand risk. Nobody taught me risk. What is a risk? What's good a risk? What's bad a risk? How to walk away? Like, all those pieces that go into negotiation. And you hit it on the head when you talked about, like, reading the fine print or being trapped in something. You're like, wait, I didn't know. And then you get tricked by somebody who's a charlatan because you didn't read the fine print. Or you didn't get tricked. It's just a standard practice to put certain things in the fine print, right? And so part of being an expert negotiator is to reach out to other experts and let them help you along the way, right? Because you're an expert in social media. So if I want to understand social media, and you and I were actually just having this conversation about technology, and I was like, listen, everybody thinks that I'm intelligent about everything, but that's just not true. So I'm still going to call you later so I can understand this thing, because at the end of the day, I can spend a month trying to learn this, or I can spend 10 minutes with you and you teach it to me, right? That people think that negotiating is just sitting across the table looking at each other like, well, I want 10 fish and you want 10 fish, so what are we going to do? No, long before you get to the 10 fish table, you need to know where they come from, how much they weigh, what does that mean for you? And you're not going to know all of that by yourself. So in this instance, like with social media, I'm going to talk to a Dr. Jackie, because when I go to the table to negotiate my brand contract, I know that I have somebody who's an expert in social media who can help me navigate, right? Like that's a piece of negotiation that we just don't talk about.
I love it. I love it, Chanel. That's great, great, great information. So you need to cultivate effective communication. And I'm gonna say what James said. He one of his things was talking too much and not listening. Before we went on vacation, we did active listening and the art of active listening. Go back and listen to that broadcast. We were going to do a part two. I just didn't feel like doing it this week. So we'll come back and revisit that. But that is a skill that a lot of us don't have. We can talk, 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 but when it comes time to listen, we're not doing that. But we're not going to go back there. But you can go back and listen to the broadcast. It was a couple weeks ago. So you need clear and articulate communication is a cornerstone of successful negotiation. Express your thoughts concisely, actively listening to the other party and seek to understand their needs. Effective communication builds a rapport and fosters an environment of collaboration. So, all of that active listening, express your thoughts, clear and articulate communication. How many times have we talked about that, Chanel?
Oh man, listen. Listen. Clear and articulate communication. Man, listen. Communicating, being understood and understanding. Somebody just said not willing to see their point of view. I think that I don't know who taught me how to say what I wanted or who taught me that it's okay to disagree. And I think that we're kind of taught, and I think even in our culture, children should be seen and not heard, right? You get in this store, don't ask for anything. And along the way, we're kind of walled off, especially from an early age, about communicating our wants or needs or having them stunted before we can even express them. And so I think that as we get older and we grow into adults and experience different relationships outside of our families, in the back of our mind, we're hearing things like seen, not heard, or don't ask for this because the answer is no. And so along the way, you hear the same version of, you know, people wanting to begin to communicate what they want. But for so long in our lives, we're kind of, children are not treated like they're people, like they're human beings. They're treated like they're almost property. And so as you get older, I think as you're trying to develop that piece of you that wants to communicate, I think that you kind of fall short because you don't have that experience. And rejection is like such a big deal. And I guess my advice to anybody is when they're figuring out how to communicate and figuring out how to articulate themselves, is like being okay with the fact that you may disagree with somebody you really love, right? And the negotiation may just be that, like, unfortunately, you might walk away with what you came in with, right? And that doesn't mean that things ended poorly, but I think we spend so much time really not being gentle around the fact that we aren't taught how to negotiate. Like when you were little, could you negotiate with your parents about what you wanted? A lot of people couldn't, right? It's like, do what I say.
It's my way or the highway, baby.
Right. Right. So now, like, we're adults and you want me to go into this corporate culture when the people who loved me, supported me, nurtured me, raised me, my foundation treated me like what I wanted didn't matter. And my opinion had no room for a voice in the place where I was supposed to be loved. Now I'm going out to the world where I'm unloved and I'm supposed to figure out how to be heard.
That's a very valid point.
Yeah.
Rachel says, do you think that Black people are more likely to try to negotiate with Black people and not our white counterparts? You know, here's the reality, Rachel. We're in a society where the majority is white people. You have to pick and choose and analyze who you're going to negotiate with. I believe in diversity. I came from a job where I was a diversity recruiter. I can't put any group of people and say that they're all bad or they're all good. There's good and bad in all people. And so it would be up to you to analyze, is this a person, regardless of their color, that is worth you negotiating with? That's going to be your decision after you. The one thing I know for sure, they're going to tell on themselves eventually, and whatever is not good is going to come out because they can't continue. If you listen long enough, they cannot continue to hide, the flaws or whatever is not good. So that's where it comes in. Take time to understand and investigate and learn about who you're negotiating with. What have they done in the past? What negotiations have they accomplished? And all of that plays into it. So I don't believe that this is a black or white thing. Something else that I saw, and I don't know where that is.
Can I speak to that?
Somebody said what? Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I think to answer your question, do I think that we're more likely to negotiate, to try and negotiate? For sure, especially in business. I've seen it in real time how
What
people
do, what do
work.
you mean with a black person?
For sure, yeah, for
Uh,
sure.
yeah, I mean, I can't agree with that. I think that we should be as much as possible, but people have been duped. I'm be honest, been duped by black people too.
That's not what I'm referring to at all. I'm saying, like, when people come to me, I'll give you a prime example. I know people who have worked with my non-black counterparts and have not asked them to give them a special payment plan or try to negotiate a special discount, or any of those things. And they'll come to me and be like, "Oh, sis, well, can I get a 19-month payment plan for this thing that's $500?" When they've paid my counterparts significantly more. Do I think that it's just a black on black thing? No, I think that, people are more comfortable to have, like, certain conversations with people who they feel familiarity with. But I can say from experience, I have seen it, where women are more try to negotiate with me about things that are not negotiable, especially around, like, price, time, things like that. And they don't do it with, like, my male counterparts. But I also think it's because we're both women. I don't always necessarily think it's about race at all.
Right. And that's what I was saying too. You have to analyze the person on an individual basis and see if it's worth their time, because there's good and bad in everything. I want to address Berthy, I think it is, says when's the best time to ask for a raise. So here's my take on this, and I have an HR background. First of all, what most of us don't do is keep records of all the good things that you've done when you were hired. I was talking to someone I interviewed last night. I still have, even though I'm retired, a portfolio of reference letters and accolades. And so when you can go in, it's time for negotiation, and you can say, well, look, because they're not going to purposely sometimes not remember all the stuff that you've done. Uh, so you keep your record and say, oh, by the way, here's some of the things that I've achieved in this year. And I believe that they warrant me getting a raise. So I mean, I think when you're doing your review is probably the best time to go in. Just don't go in all willy nilly, come in one morning, oh yeah, I want a raise. No, you have to be strategic with that too. So Bertie, I hope that helps you out. But always keep a record of all of your accomplishments, because no one else is going to. That I can give you, and I can tell you it has helped me in my 26 years with the electric company. It has helped me excel over and over again. All right, what do you have, Chanel?
So this is twofold. Following up from what you said, Christina Silva said, I read an article the other day about remote workers being overlooked for promotions due to out of sight, out of mind. As a remote worker, how do you approach and negotiate the role and raise based off of less expense because we're working from home? Less expense is literally they pay less, so they earn more, right? If you can articulate the value that you've given to the company, you should be keeping accurate records. Free game, right? I don't work in corporate America anymore. But every time something good happened, I had a notebook. I'd write it down. Every time something bad happened, I had a notebook. I'd write it down. Okay. And I was so good. I had timestamps. I had dates. And when you mention people, don't put Jacqueline, put Dr. Jacqueline King, okay? Because there may be 873 Jackies in that company, and they could argue it was somebody else. Put first and last names and get very detailed. If you did something on a Zoom where you spoke up and they gave you recommendations, or like ask for things. And what I've noticed with remote workers is that often they aren't proactively trying to create recognition for themselves. So I had a client who is trying to transition out of her role, and I was like, why don't you ask your managers if you guys can have like a game night or like a lunch where you guys all come together and like just be proactive about staying on their minds, because their whole team is remote. And so now they went from being a bunch of remote workers to now they're a team, because they do team building exercises remotely, and she's always looking for cool fun ways to like activate the team atmosphere. And as far as like, when do you ask for a raise? You get a review, don't you? The same thing Dr. Jackie said. If you get a review, or if they put you on a project that's outside the scope of the work you perform. That's a perfect example. And there's also studies that say that people who work from home actually work 20% more, or something crazy, than people who work in the office, right? So if you can prove you've actually been working more, you can ask for more money. But more importantly, you get a review. If you get a new project or you get a review, ask for more money.
Absolutely. So you need to be patient and strategic. Negotiation is often a gradual process. Avoid rushing the conversation and be patient. Use strategic pauses to allow the other person to consider your proposals. Patient and strategic timing can lead to more favorable outcomes. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. If you just like, rushing in, well, look, I want to answer today. I mean, I don't think you're going to get very far with that, with that type of attitude. But yeah, patience and then pause. I mean, we've all learned, even in interviews, and I actually used to do behavioral interviews. And they'll say something like, tell me about a time you had such and such. Now you can rush and say, yeah, so I did it. And you say, let me think about that. Okay, so here's what happened. I mean, you're really, what you're doing, first of all, you're allowing yourself to gather, first of all, a good example. You might come up with something that is a horrible example if you just blurt it out. And later on, you'll be like, I had another example that I could have used, but take some time and pause and really think about what you're going to say. Be strategic and purposeful and patient. Same thing with negotiations.
Patience is hard. And like, let's talk about like negotiations in the midst of like adversity. So I have this thing where I've adapted, and it's very hard. But like, let's say I'm in an argument with somebody, and I very rarely if ever get into an argument. And it's usually somebody I'm dating over something that we need to really just have a conversation about, and we're just not doing a good job. Um, I will say what I want or what I need or what I want to respond to, and be quiet. That is like when we talk about being patient, why don't people talk about being quiet? Shut up. The people like for real, like like being quiet is a skill, it is a talent. And I think that so often we equate silence as like being ignored, we overinterpret it, and sometimes people just need quiet to think. And like you said, give them a chance to respond. And you can also set boundaries, right? So like, if you ask for a raise and they said any time, um I'm not above saying, hey, when, like, is that a month? Is that 2 weeks? Is that 6 weeks? Can I get a timeline so that I can make sure that I follow up? Right? That's respectable. And even like in our intimate relationships, and I think I told y'all, if somebody wouldn't give me an answer right away, I'll be like, bye forever. You had 13 seconds. That was long enough.
Chanel is a little bit on the spoiled side, y'all. I am too, so I can relate. But
I'm not that way anymore, though. But I told y'all, I used to be terrible.
I know. Me too. So we're kind of used to kind of so getting our own ways. I mean, at the time, she's not. She said she's not like that anymore. I probably still have some of that in me still. I'm still a work in progress, but I get it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think just learning to wait, and especially in intimate relationships, and when I say intimacy, I'm talking like mother and child. I'm talking, non-platonic, wherever you sit, it's okay to be patient. And you can tell the person, hey, listen, Dr. Jackie, I asked you to give me an answer. Um, I'm going to be patient. I want to be able to circle back with you in 2 weeks. Is that enough time? And she may say, no, I'm going on vacation. I don't want to be enough time. I'm not trying to deal with this. Give me another 2 weeks. I say, okay. In a month, I'll follow up. We can finish the conversation. And she'll say, okay, that's enough time. Like, it's okay to kind of ask for expectations. And also, again, patients may step in when they say, I don't know. And you can't be like, bye forever.
Yeah.
Or you can say, I'll take ownership. I'll follow up in a month and see where we are. Right.
Right. I want to shout out my executive director of nonprofits, Linda Gray, is on. Good morning, Queen. Thank you for joining. Create win-win solutions. The most successful negotiations result in win-win solutions where both parties feel satisfied with the outcome. Seek compromises. We talked about that first. That address the core needs of both sides. This collaboration approach builds goodwill and lays the foundation for future positive interactions. That's a mouthful right there. It really, really is. You want both sides to feel comfortable with whatever it is. It doesn't always work out that way, but that's what you want to shoot for.
Yeah.
You want to shoot for where everybody's cool with it. I'm asking you to give me a $15,000 a year raise, and you'd be like, no, but we can give you a $10,000 years. How about 12? Can we do 12? I mean, that's what negotiation is. You're going back and forth.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, maybe 12.50, whatever. I'm saying. So talk it out and then come to something that you both can live with, right?
Yeah. Oh, I started this conversation with compromise, right? I think that the pinnacle of negotiations is compromise. I'm gonna give you guys a sweet spot, and maybe this is like something you can adapt in your own life. Before I have a conversation with anybody about something I want, 98.8% of the time, I know what my baseline is, right? So baseline means this is like the bare minimum, and it's not a thick line, it's a thin line for me. And the reason for that is that everything that it's usually like the list below it is actually typically about the same as above it. For example, if I'm doing in government contracting, a lot of times you have to have a meeting, and this is relatable for people who may want to do hybrid. I'm unwilling to go and sit in anybody's office all day. Not gonna happen. I don't care how much it is. I don't thrive in that. I need to physically move around. I work in my mama house, so I don't work from home, and I leave up out of here all the time. I need to physically be able to change my location without having to worry about what people are thinking. So for me, a baseline is if I'm hybrid, I have to be able to hybrid half day, and I will put in my contract I can only be there 4 hours, twice a week max. That's it. That's all you're getting from me. I'm not an employee. On the flip side, if you're hybriding, you need to go in and ask and put in your employment contract if for whatever reason you can't go in on Wednesdays because maybe your favorite show come on in the middle of the day, then write in your contract that maybe you'll go to work every other day, but you don't want to work, you don't want to come into the office on Wednesdays. That is your non-negotiable, right? But if you go in saying, I'll see what I can get, the problem with that is that like you end up getting most of the things you don't want because you don't have a clear understanding of what you do want. And like I said, being flexible. So if you want me to work 8 hours, I'll do 8 hours twice a week. I'm not giving you an 8-hour day. I don't have it to give. And it's the same thing with every other part of your life. Like Dr. Jackie may tell me, I need you to come and do, 8 hours of lives. I love Dr. Jackie. I'm never doing an 8-hour live in one day. What I will do for her is we can negotiate 2 hours, 4 days a week, or something like that. But again, you need to know how to make it make sense for you. So Dr. Jackie, and this is the sneaky spot, in case y'all missed it, Dr. Jackie is getting her hours. She thought she had me. She's gonna give me for a day, but I got her because I'm like, I'll give you 2 hours, 4 days a week, or maybe three, and two. I'm compromising, right? Everybody's getting what they want, but the format needs to make sense for me. Does that make sense to y'all?
And that was a great example. But here's what you need to do. I'm gonna give y'all a word, an acronym that you never heard. Know when to walk away. Understanding your BATNA. You never heard of BATNA. Best alternative to a negotiated agreement. BATNA. BATNA, okay, is crucial. And if the terms are not favorable and an agreement cannot be reached, be prepared to walk away. Knowing your limits enhances your negotiating position and preserves your integrity. BATNA, write that down. BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
Yes, ma'am. I think I don't know if I have a BATNA. I've heard of BATNA before. Um, I think every time this is probably a commitment thing for me. But when you say BATNA, I think about exit strategy.
I know you do,
And
but
I know that's not what it is, but that's it. Every time I'm like, how do I get out of this? That's not the case, right, Dr. Jackie? Get me together. Get me together.
yeah, well, you really have to know, you have to know you. And you have to know when it's not going to work in your favor at not the least little bit. It's not a 50-50. It's not a anything. So I I appreciate the time that you've given me, but unfortunately, this is not going to work for me. So I am going to have to walk away from this. I wish you much success. You can do it politely and whatever it is you're trying to do. But as far as I'm concerned, we're done.
And that's, what? I think that's so big. I can tell you guys. So I think I've shared the story here before. Um, but it's very timely because I'm coming up on my fourth year anniversary of corporate retirement, aka I was fired from my job during the pandemic. And I remember when before I was separated from the role, there was a situation where I was ready to walk out, right? And I am somebody who leads by passion. And I'm a passionate October Scorpio, y'all. So when I get it in my head, when it's time to go, I am a very cut it off immediately, exit, abort, jump off the plane kind of person. And there was somebody, and this is when it goes down to making sure that along the way you invest in other people and you trust experts. Because I remember walking out almost in tears, ready to quit my job that day, no understanding of what was going to happen next. This was right before the pandemic hit, ready to quit, right? And I remember walking into somebody who I've actually never thanked. I should thank him. And he convinced me to walk back in. And you know what he told me? He said, go back and get what you want. And here I was feeling powerless, attacked, overlooked. Honestly, I guess in hindsight, embarrassed. Because what happened to me was what I felt like was a waging of war. And I told him, I was like, I feel like they trying to fight me. And then he was like, well, then raise your gun. He's like, it's a fight. What are you doing? Just lay down. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. But in that, he taught me, he's like, you're leaving. You want to leave anyway. That's okay. But get something out of it. He was like, you don't just leave like this and everybody gets the advantage. And looking back, had I have not trusted him or trusted myself to know when I'm getting good advice, right, I wouldn't have known to go back and negotiate. I had packed up my desk. Okay. When I tell you I packed up my desk and I walked out, I didn't say goodbye. I logged out of my computer and left. That's how serious I was about quitting. I was at my car and he caught me. And I'm sharing that to say that my BAFTA, again, was to leave, but somebody cared about me enough to tell me to negotiate. And go ahead.
Yeah. So Yeah, in my, I guess I say I was in my 40s at the time. I was so much like you. I remember having a boss that was completely crazy. I don't know any other way to say it. They were crazy. And I, no matter how hard I tried to work, well, nothing I did was right. And I know that it wasn't true because at this time, I had already retired from the electric company. And this was my second career. And I was successful all those 26 years. But in this person's eyes, there was nothing that I could do that was right. So I quit. I wrote a resignation letter, 5 page typed.
Mm.
Okay, so I went in real
I was
good.
gonna say you was up. You was mad.
I went in real strong.
Yeah.
And so the HR director knew. I didn't know that this woman was a problem, and she had gone through 5 people before me. They didn't tell me that, of course.
No.
And so she says, well, can we sit down and negotiate? That's what she says. Let's talk, all three of us. And so we talked, and then she asked me to leave the room to talk. This was a professor at a very reputable college. I don't even want to say which one it is. And she asked me to leave, and when I came back in, she says, Dr. Such and Such wants to work this out, negotiate this, and work this out. What say you? I said, no, I am leaving. And she says, how much notice are you giving us? I said, I just gave it to you. When I walk out this door, I'm cleaning up my stuff and I'm gone. Now, that probably wasn't the best way to handle that. I probably should have gave him 2 weeks notice. But back then, I was like you. Forget you. Don't let the door hit you, whatever, because you've already
Yeah.
shown me that you don't value what I can bring to the table, and you just want to criticize. And come to find out, like I said, she was doing this to everybody. But here's the thing: in negotiations, you always maintain professionalism. Negotiations can be emotionally charged, but maintaining professionalism is essential. Avoid personal attacks, stay focused on the issues at hand, and strive to create an atmosphere of respect. Professionalism builds and trust and contributes to a positive negotiating environment. And a lot of times, if you get to that level where you're not happy about where it's going, all this can go right out the window real quick. Am I right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And well, one of the things we talk about, right? Oh, I guess we haven't talked about here a lot, but we should share with people more is how do you build a people who you trust so much that even past your anger and past your emotions, they can reach the part of you that is rational, right? Um, because I did end up quitting. And thank God I didn't quit, right? Because I was able to keep my job long enough to start my first business, invest in my first business, and grow my revenue. If I would have quit, I mean, I guess I probably would have got like that unemployment. And who knows, I probably would have stayed on unemployment, got another job. Um, but because I trusted this man who was like a mentor to me, he protected me from myself, right? Um, and in that same vein, sometimes it's even having somebody to listen to when you're feeling frustrated or upset or hurt or downtrodden. Somebody said facts, not feelings, right? You need somebody who will help you see the facts in spite of your feelings. And I think that that is something like building a strong team, right? Because like Dr. Jackie has all these people in her ecosystem that she trusts, she relies on, that, you know, in her stead can represent her in a way that she's very comfortable with. And I think that that wisdom probably comes from over time understanding that sometimes you do need to step back and you have to be so comfortable and confident in who you are that you can step back, right? Like she has this big platform. She trusts me and about a dozen other people throughout the week to come on her, even without her, right? And use what she's worked so hard to build. But it's because she's confident in who she is and what she does. And in negotiations, you need that confidence, and that confidence will also come from like knowing how to understand other people, knowing how to understand what your baseline is, and just kind of like knowing your worth. Because Dr. Jackie knows what she's worth. She's built this, beautiful platform that she shares with us that allows us to have this community. But more than that, like using Dr. Jackie as an example, she's negotiated with other people to come in and share their talents and expertise and skills so that the people in this community and Black women empowered and at large, right, to benefit from what she's worked so hard to build. But she couldn't do that if she didn't have the confidence to negotiate with other people, to trust what she's built, but also to benefit from it.
And that is a fact. And when you brought that up, it reminds me of, yeah, trust. So I remember allowing someone to come on the platform who I had vetted, so I thought. And when she came on the platform, everyone knows that we are a Christian organization.
Uh-oh.
She came on with a very low cut blouse, and her boobs were all up in the camera. And it was a distraction because the people couldn't even hear what she was saying because her boobs was all in the camera. So what I did was I I called her up after the broadcast. First of all, I deleted it. I called her up and I said, I know that when you're on camera, you can see yourself. Did you not see how you looked before you hit that go live button? Um, I don't remember the whole conversation, but basically I said, we will no longer be using your skills, talents, and whatever on our platform because, see, this is something I don't need. There wasn't even no room for negotiation because we had already gone through ahead of time what my expectations was. So, you know, you don't get a second try at that negotiation. You did it. We had it up front, and I was very clear on who I was and what the platform was about. So, um, adaptability and flexibility, negotiations are rarely unfold exactly as planned. We know that, right? Be adaptable and flexible in response to new information or unexpected developments. A willingness to adjust your approach can lead to more successful outcomes. That's something that I think we all have to work on. It doesn't come naturally, to be, because you ready to say no, especially if you're a sister. Can I just be real?
Yeah.
Head going side to side, all that.
Yeah.
No, it's not going down like that.
It's hard though. I think as I navigate through like this professional landscape officially, like as a business owner, and I've shared here, if you've been here weeks before, I talk about how I was an employee for a long time. And I felt like a lot of times I was a manager, and now just like being an owner. Oh my goodness, I can say that I've always been on the receiving end of negotiations and not on the giving end. And what I mean by that is, um, for example, there's a piece of my team that all share the same religion, and subsequently they all want to be off at the same time, right? Um, and so for all of them to be off at the same time, they're on the same team, that would halt, right, the entire team from being able to be productive because they all want to be off, right? And there's nobody to supplement that. And so where I am someone who typically would be like, if you don't want to do your work, I'm going to walk away, I'm going to hire somebody else. Having to understand from this side of the table, somebody asks me for something I don't want to give them, but I got to give them something. Like, sometimes I'm just like, just do what I said. Like, I obviously don't act like that. But in my head, I'm like having a tantrum because, like, I want what I want. Why would you ask me for this? All of you. Why? Right? But externally, I'm like, okay, let me figure something out. So now I'm like trying to like renegotiate the time of day they work and how that impacts me. I'm trying to move around project deliverable dates. And I share that to say that like sometimes it is over if there's like a work stoppage, but learning that like I have to be the negotiator and like leading the negotiation from the power side has definitely changed the way I see negotiations. And I didn't used to be so good at it in the beginning, but now I'm like, okay, like I see why this is important. And now this is like the legacy building portion. Now this is like the reputational stuff. And Dr. Jackie, it ain't been easy. I know you've been an entrepreneur for a very long time, but like how you said, you have to tell the woman, like, absolutely not, right? And even that, like firing people. I remember the first time I had to fire somebody really quickly, and I was like, in my head, wanted to negotiate with them to essentially ask them to not be who they were, like that woman who like, had her chest out. That's who she is. She's sexy. Cool. This is not the platform for that. I'm not telling you not to be sexy. I'm just saying you can't do it over here, right? I'm not rejecting your personhood. I'm just setting this boundary. And like again, like as a professional, I struggled in the beginning, and I had to fire somebody because I wanted them to like they were doing 10% of what I was paying them to do, and I wanted to basically come back to the table and ask them for 50% and pay them the same. And I went to go talk to a trusted advisor. They were like, "Are you okay? They're not doing their job. Fire them. How long have they not been doing their job?" And I was like, "Oh, like a month." They were like, "Oh, no. You've already overpaid them. Let them go stay." So like firing people is hard. Like ending a relationship. We're talking about like breaking up with people. Dr. Jackie spoke wisdom over letting go. But this side of it, it's weird too.
It is, but what you need to do is learn from each negotiation that you have. Provides the opportunity for growth and learning. Reflect on your experiences, identify areas for improvement, and apply these lessons to future negotiations. Continuous refinement of your negotiation skills ensures ongoing success. Yeah, so I mean, you can look back at a negotiation that you had that didn't go so well, and so you don't want to take those mistakes or whatever you saw that didn't go well into your next one. You learn from them, you fine tune them. Maybe you didn't listen. Maybe you were too stern and rigid and not willing to compromise. Um, Whatever it is, you need to learn from each one of them so that you can continuously grow and learn to be a better negotiator, right?
I, I, I couldn't have said that better. You do have to learn and grow from where you are. And I shared this before. I'll share this again. Like I'm a work in progress. And if I could extend anybody the best advice is that like if you don't know, ask somebody. I think the biggest mistake is that we decide because we're intelligent, we know everything, and we put the responsibility on other people to know that we don't know everything. But in negotiations, right? Like so when I'm negotiating a government contract or I'm negotiating with a client, um, if I don't understand what the work is going to be, I get somebody who I trust to step in and help me understand what I'm missing. Because you don't know what you don't know till you don't know it. But the problem is that like we are in a bootstrap society, and quite frankly, the straps are broke, the soles are gone, worn thin. So believe in other people so that you can trust yourself to negotiate through whatever relationship situation that you're trying to get through. My best advice is hire a team. And when I say hire a team or join a community, both join this community, which is a perfect segue into if you have not already.
Yeah, well, wait, before you go there, because I got to really talk about that. We want to say thanks to Paula, who said, I love this, Dr. Jackie. We love you. Thank you so much. Please share the broadcast. And Linda says, this is very good conversation and good nuggets for both Dr. King and Chanel. We're gonna wrap it up. Negotiation is both an art and a science. It requires a combination of strategic thinking, effective communication, interpersonal skills. By understanding your goals, preparing thoroughly, and cultivating a collaborative mindset, you can navigate negotiations with confidence and achieve outcomes that benefit all parties involved. Remember, negotiation is not about reaching an agreement, it's about building relationships and fostering a foundation for future collaboration. That's a mouthful. I hope that some of you will come back and listen to that. Yeah. So Chanel said. So the last time we were live, we had not launched our directory, which you can see it on the top of the screen, blackwomanempowereddirectory.com. For those of you who have businesses, blogs, YouTube videos, writing books, you really do need to join. I interviewed a lady last night, Jackie Abrams, who has a book. I have her book right here, which is really a great book. It's called Hush Money. It's about working in toxic work environments. And let me tell you, after the interview, she got 14 leads immediately after the interview asking for her services. She offers classes. You do not want to miss your opportunity to get in this directory, because let me tell you something. If you're paying for advertising, especially on a major platform, we have 4 million followers, you're going to pay an astronomical amount to get in front of 4 million people. You are. I'm not making it up. If you don't, I look it up for yourself. See how much radio and TV charges. It's off the chart. So, for $97, which is the basic plan, you can a year, you can add your profile and a couple other things I don't remember, but for the enhanced, which is 175, you have everything that you can do, your YouTube videos, as much, you can be in as many categories as you want. And same thing for the lifetime. For the lifetime, it's $450. But can you imagine, for a lifetime, you can be in this directory for $450? You don't have to pay ever again. And we're not going to stay at those prices, because as we grow, the prices are going to go up. So if you don't get in on the grandfather prices, you'll be paying the higher prices later and wish you had gotten in on the beginning. So you can either go to blackwomenempowered.org and get there, or you can just go directly. It's going across the bottom screen, blackwomenempowereddirectory.com. Check us out. Beautiful website. Great, great. A web designer did an amazing job. And so this is your opportunity. This is your time. You said you want more in 2024. We said we were going to bring it. We're bringing it. What you do with it now is up to you. Go ahead, Chanel.
I want to piggyback on that a little bit. We've been here for a couple of months, and people say, I want to develop my business. I want to get into government contracting. I want to be better, make more, have more. And I think that, we heard the cry, and you created an environment for people to have community and to fellowship together, and to continue to nurture yourself inside of a space where everybody's looking to make money. Here's the thing. In our community, this is Black Women Empowered. The reason why we make less is because we often don't talk about how much we're making. The reason why we don't make money because we don't ask for it, right? And so you'll be in a community of people who support you, not just financially, but who will show up for you. I do lives. I have a live later on today about government contracting. People will show up. And there's people who I've met in this community who just want you to know that you are not alone in this journey. And so a lot of times people come on here and they say they feel isolated, they feel separated. There's no separation. There's no lack. Dr. Jackie's in there all the time, right? She's showing up for you. So show up for yourself and become a part of a community. I mean, if you get $97, right? That's easy, right? Think about how you can connect with all these people, because all of our contact information is there. So there's no other community. I have in high ticket environments where I cannot get direct access to people. I can't even see their Facebook link, right? She's saying, hey, listen, I think you deserve to make money. Go ahead and communicate, right? It's important for you to take note and take action on this. Secondly, if you haven't already, make sure you're following Black Women Empowered on every single platform, okay? Every single platform that you are on, there's always top-notch information that you're going to receive. And of course, if you are following us on whatever platform, so Dr. Jackie and myself on LinkedIn, make sure you're following and or accepting or sending connection requests to us so that you get notified when we are going live on this platform and you don't miss it. And the final request is, of course, if you haven't already, share Share it and say one thing you learned. Share it and say you enjoy being a part of this weekly live. Um, we appreciate that support. And of course, I am here if you have any questions about, building your business, about government contracting. Feel free to reach out to me. My DMs are always open. But most importantly, make sure you're connecting with us. Okay, especially Dr. Jackie, tell them what your names are on the platform, so I can't remember.
They don't even need them, because if you go to the directory, they not only can they connect with you, you have your logo on there. What's your name in the directory?
Uh,
See.
CR agency, but just my name too, right? Chanel.
Yeah, you
That's my
can
real
go
name.
right
Yep.
in there, and actually, you can. She's listed under government contracts, and she's listed under Black businesses. If you type, I'll click on either one of them, and she'll come up. It's the easiest way to do it than trying to give out all these names. When you go there, you can connect with me. You can connect with so many other people, and I'm hoping that you will join. Down the bottom, all of our social media sites are right at the bottom of the page. You don't even have to do anything but click on them. You can follow them from there. We want to keep it simple. So
Yes.
go there, and you can send Chanel a message. I'm sure that she's going to be putting her workshops up there if she hasn't already. You can click right on it and register for it. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It really is.
Yes.
This is our time. If you want more in 2024, go to blackwomenempowereddirectory.com and sign up today. I love you. We are 3 minutes over time, and you know what's happening. It's going to be
Yes.
time for the young and the restless. We'll be back here next week with a new topic. Chanel, as always, thank you so much. I call you my daughter. Thank you so much for coming on and showing up and empowering our millions of followers every week. And everybody have a blessed week. Thank you so much.